Wolf, very nice to have you here in Amsterdam. We're about to start the Night of Sustainable Finance Lab about the fundamentals of our monetary system. What will be the main message that you want to give to the people?
I suppose that the main message we need to be aware of is we've just lived, first of all, through an enormous financial crisis, probably the biggest financial crisis ever, which has had enormous and devastating effects. And most people hope that we're not going to have anything like this ever again. And the second point is that while we've had a great deal of regulatory activity, immensely complex and difficult regulatory activity agreed across the world, in essence the system remains the same. The risks in it are not fundamentally different. They are possibly managed better. And above all, we mistrust finance so profoundly that the solution we found is not to create a market-led financial system, but rather to have officials, administrators, make pretty well all the decisions in the financial sector. So we have a really perverse situation that we supposedly have a market economy, but we don't have market-driven finance, particularly in banking. And the third point is that if we want this to be different, we have to create a different system. And the starting point is to recognize that the reason we can't lead banking to be an ordinary business is that it is responsible directly for creating nearly all the money in our economy as a result of its lending activities. And we simply cannot allow a monetary collapse. It's not something that is possible for any government to permit. So beyond a certain point, the banking institutions know they're going to be rescued, that fundamentally they will be rescued. And because of that, they're going to take huge risks, and sooner or later the system will blow up. They will use their resources to lobby for lighter regulation, and the system will blow up. And with Mr. Trump elected, that could happen quite soon. So we've got to think about more radical alternatives. And the right alternative, this is my fourth main point, is one in which governments again take control of the creation of money as a means of payment and store of value, which is absolutely certain and solid. And that allows the rest of the financial system to become more genuinely market-led and market-driven with the risks internalized within it. And these are the essential points I believe people have to understand.
Okay, thank you. And is that something that can be done at the moment? Government starting to create money?
It's certainly something governments can do. In fact, of course, central banks have created enormous amounts of money. It's called quantitative easing. And people regard that as very weird, as somehow unnatural, though it's the most natural thing in the world. So we could certainly do more of that. We might well change the way we do it and what we use the money for. It can be done, however, at once. Of course, creating a system like this would work requires some quite significant reforms. I don't believe it will be done soon because the resistance to such change, the vested interests, both intellectual and financial and economic, are so great, but it could be done, and I think we have to prepare these alternatives, because even if they're not done now, we might well need them after the next crisis, which I'm reasonably certain will happen.
And what would be the steps to take to prepare? What would be the first thing you think we should do?
Well, I mean, the core of it is to understand more widely how the financial and monetary systems work. And the second thing is to discuss what institutional arrangements will be needed to bring about this separation between finance and money, to make money this very special stuff that we use for making our payments and for storing absolutely safe purchasing power, to make that separate from the financial sector. We can think about different ways of doing this. There are obviously many different ways of doing it. Discussing how to do it, making a plan for it, so that if governments decide that finally this must be done, the political process decides this can be done, the ground is prepared. That is what we need to do.